Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L and welcome to the second review for Ichi the Witch. I actually really enjoy the series, which is why I'm doing the second review. I didn't think I would be doing reviews for this series more than once until we got past chapter 10, but here we are. Alright, so, how you doing? I hope you all are doing great. We are going to continue talking about the series, so I think it has a lot of things to talk about. So because it's going to be critical in nature, because we're still in the we don't know if this thing's actually going to survive phase, we have to talk things more about market suitability than actual story quality. Regarding actual story quality, let's just make this really clear. This is above the baseline standard of Shonen Jump in terms of technical competency, which is to say, at baseline this is a good series, but there is a difference between being good and being popular, especially in Shonen Jump, which will ultimately affect the series more than you'd expect. So it's interesting because there's one moment in the chapter which is really the best moment. It's where you see the competency at its finest. I personally, you know me, I don't really care about the art. Let's just put it out there, the art's great. There's nothing more I can say about the art, because honestly the art here, I don't think it's actually going to shift the needle. We have to talk about the story content. The story content's actually the more important thing. I'm just trying to figure out where to start. I gave you the baseline so that you know that I am on the fan side, but I am not reviewing as a fan. I'm reviewing as something else. Okay, I think I got it. So let's begin with what the chapter started with. And I'm going to be very careful with the way I describe this. The first part of the chapter, or rather the chapter begins with an explanation of the world, specifically that magic is alive and they are hunted by special women. Specifically, those women are called witches. Alright, that's the first step. Final part of the chapter, we end off with the main character saying, yeah, I'm joining the hunt. Let's go check this out. Let's go validate. That's pretty good. Now let me show you something else. This is Red Hood. Red Hood begins with an explanation of werewolves and the werewolf hunters. Red Hood ends with a general declaration of we're going to hunt the wolves and protect this hamlet. Now mind you, the immediate scope of both series is different, but let's not underestimate where we end off here. Right there, I'll do it. We're gonna hunt the creatures. The reason I bring this up is because one, it's actually a little bit unnerving that Red Hood is the one that's actually the most comparable to the series, because it's the hunting aspect of it. But the other reason I bring it up is because the information density in the chapter, there's when we talk about text density in the Shonen Jump series outside of the dramas like Akane Banashi, when it comes to the battle shonens, the text density was highest in Hero Academia. Jujutsu Kai does not have high text density unless they're explaining powers. And One Piece kind of teeter-totters. You have to, with One Piece, you have to actually, sit down and differentiate between fluff and actual important information. One Piece has high image density, but not really text density. That's something that, not Shogun no Soma, that's something that Hero Academia did. The reason I bring that up is because this thing matches Hero Academia's text density, and the reason I brought Red Hood up is because Red Hood also matched Hero Academia's text density. Here's the problem. Hero Academia's text density was not a feature of the manga at the beginning of the manga's run. Hero Academia's text density is something that naturally developed over time. Red Hood, the reason it's important to bring up Red Hood is because Red Hood was done by the assistant to Horikoshi. Right here, Yuki Kawaguchi is a former assistant to Kohio Horikoshi. Published a number of one-shots. In 2020, he did Red Hood. The reason I bring that up is because he picked up a lot of late-game Hero Academia narrative techniques. And late-game narrative techniques do not work at the beginning of a new series traditionally. Not in Shonen Jump. It is very dangerous to be engaging in what this person's engaging in. It is very, very scary that we are comparable to Red Hood's opening right now. And you know what? This is also one of the unfortunate parts about having a completely fleshed out fantasy world, is that you have to do more explanation. I don't know if people know this, but you know, the publishing industry has particular standards for word counts in books. Like a standard novel could be 40,000 words. For romance, they might recommend 60,000 or 70,000. But you know, for fantasy and sci-fi, you can get away with 120,000. Do you know why? Because those genres require more explanation for fantastical things that don't exist in real life. The more something can be explained with a real life commonality, like the less words are going to be expected to be in the book. This is kind of the same effect that's occurring here, slightly. Like, I think you could get away with more because you have the image aspect to kind of portray the story further, but whatever. Biggest thing here is we're talking about the text density, and my big takeaway from this is that this is very dangerous to do. Red Hood is not a good example of this. Late game Hero Academia techniques should not be engaged in, not when you're at the beginning of a series, at least for marketability in general. Now, like, another thing to keep in mind is that this is also an experienced author. We don't really know what that X factor is going to do to the overall pickup. I'm going to tell you about something else though. Hero Academia does not engage in this in its first chapters. This is like Hero Academia at the beginning of chapter 2. I don't know if you're going to notice something about this, but all these Shonen Jump titles kind of start with a quick recap when you come into it. But look, we start off chapter 2 with Izuku on the ground crying because something nice had just happened to him. It's different. Let's talk about relatability. The thing here is fundamentally, what makes Hero Academia stronger when it comes to its target market is the relatability aspect. And this comes together with the text density. The text density is here because this is a far out concept that you have to explain. But fundamentally, the thing that makes Hero Academia stronger is when you think about little kids. How many little kids in Japan engage in any kind of hunting philosophy? How many little kids in Japan actually butcher their own meat? How many kids in Japan are actually able to be left alone in the woods and be self-sufficient within a year? How many kids are able to like live off the loneliness with a pursuit of just the hunting lifestyle? How many little kids are able to do that in Japan? But if you look at Hero Academia, hi Coco, how many little kids are used to being bullied? How many little kids have felt like their parent has let them down before? How many little kids have wanted someone to say, hey, you can be something worthwhile too, or have sought validation from someone cooler? The thing is with Hero Academia, what makes it much stronger and gives it better odds at surviving is that it is easier to emotionally resonate with Hero Academia. And as we come into chapter 2, that's something I really want to point out there, is that chapter 1 of Hero Academia gives you a lot to work with when it comes to creating a commonality with Izuku. But chapter 1 of this series, how much, like, the main character is an oddball in terms of like the relatability aspect, prior to like going at it. So already from there, we are in a very tough situation when it comes to this kind of stuff. I'm not saying that you need relatability at all times, but it helps. Relatability definitely helps. That combined with the text approach that we have at the beginning and trying to like create a connection to like the hunting lifestyle here or hunting philosophy, very tough to do. Overall, though, I'm looking at Shonen Jump's lineup right now. We have just gotten rid of almost all the weak series. Like when we're looking at what's left as weak series right now, there's a police officer manga that I think is going to be the next one to be canceled, in all honesty. There's Kill Blue and there's Undead Unluck, which it still has it's probably going to have 16 more chapters before it actually ends. What I'm saying is that these new manga that recently came, there's not a lot of buffer room for them. They're like these next manga that are, well, like there's a few other new ones that are still too young to be canceled, but within the next 7 weeks we'll know for sure what's going to happen. It's a pretty scary situation to be in for this manga, I think, still. Okay, so we covered relatability very quickly. We covered text density. I showed you the similarities with Red Hood. Let's continue talking about the amazing things here. Ultimately, I think this series is actually better for people that watch YouTube videos as opposed to like a common Shonen Jump series, because there's more to talk about and there's more to appreciate here. We're going to talk about characterization because characterization is really good. Oh, and also just very quickly, I would be quite happy if this actually ends up in an Undead Unluck situation where it's technically a weak series, but it ends up surviving by virtue of other things being weaker than it, and it gets to have 200 chapters. I think that would actually be quite nice. I think that'd actually be the win condition for this particular manga, because I don't see this at the way it is now. I don't see it like exploding to Jujukai levels. I have to take this off because the bird's on me. He's going to electrocute himself. Anyway, I think it's very ballsy when an author is confidently able to depict a main female character as being so arrogant. And man, this girl is arrogant. And I think it goes into the next level when you're so competent that you're able to depict her as being arrogant and wrong. That was amazing. That's where this girl really elevated. And like, man, the single best moment of the chapter is this one. Not this one. It was pretty good though. That's definitely a unique moment that will definitely. That's definitely a crowd pleaser, but that's not the best moment. Best moment is right here. You can see my little mouse on it. The reason this is the best moment is because this could really unravel the rest of the series for us. We hunt you magics because you trump around wrecking things. Okay, I really just want to get into this, but okay. Let me continue. We're the indigenous species here, thanks. The history of magics goes way, way further back than your inferior monkey species. To which the girl says, mine in the past must get with the times already, you geriatric magic. Which, when you think about it, that's nasty. There are plenty of magic cooperating with humans these days. I know nothing of stinking traders who work with monkeys. Alright, so they're both extremely rude people. And there's a lot of blood, and there's a lot of bad blood here. What's really interesting for me is this position about the indigenous species. And later on we see like a few images of the magics. What I'm wondering now, first off, exploiting an indigenous species. Already, you know, like there's already like I was here first, and you know how like that would work out in our world because of how loaded some concepts are. But hunting a species because of their magic, you could see already how badly that can go. And when she says we hunt magics because they trump around wrecking things, I'm wondering like, what exactly are they wrecking? Are they wrecking human civilization? But then, if they are magic that is made manifest, and we later on see that there is like magics in the volcano, there's magics at the bottom of the ocean, and also like the face that this girl makes right here when she says that does not look very good. There's magic in the skies, and like magic in someone's study and all that kind of stuff. But really the one in the volcano is the one that I'm curious about. Are magics equivalent to natural disasters? Are they natural disasters given sentience? Because then it like gives meaning to this statement about they tromp around wrecking things. Is that just because you guys happen, or like the humans happen to be in the way of the magics? And so, you know, when it comes to like, let's build some parallels here. What parallel do we have in our world that we can talk about here? Well, humans, imagine you have humans, we're in the current state. Imagine all of a sudden, birds hyper evolve because of a parasite that gives them super conscience, or that gives them super consciousness. And then they start attacking humans because humans go tromp around wrecking things like their forests. All right. Okay, so there we are. And now let's have a situation where a bird suddenly attacks a baby human and kills it and says, you're trumping around wrecking things. Already, you can see how bad that looks. It's a really bad situation here. Mind you, with humans, humans aren't the same as it depends on how you argue it, but you get the idea. Like, that's not the perfect example, but that's just there to like get you probably some interpretations that might come about in the series. But going back to like the natural disaster angle, to what degree can you villainize a hurricane? Is it a hurricane's fault that human civilization is in the way? Is it a hurricane's fault that humans have aided in coastal erosion and made places more susceptible to hurricanes? Well, I don't know. Probably not. It's probably not a hurricane's fault. So when it comes to this, I do wonder, to what degree are we seeing like the same kind of relationship that you see between a human and an anthill? I wonder to what degree we're seeing that. Of course, one thing here is that the King of Magic's personality definitely aids the girl in making her seem a little bit more correct. But like this right here could blow. Like this right here is so ripe for a whole lot of things going down. And when you have the girl being so arrogant too, man, like it just really sets her up for like a nice fall here, which could be very nice to like watch unfold. It reminds me of a chat I had with a commenter, Skelly, about like what would happen to humans if we actually shared the Earth with another equivalent race. And he pointed out that, you know, unless we're competing for the same food source, or like there's some kind of food aspect, maybe we would leave each other alone, because ultimately it's like the resources that is a problem. And when it comes to these guys, you know, it just seems like right now I think humans going after magics, hunting them, and then using their power I feel that could be made to look really bad. One thing to also keep in mind here, there's over 3,000 magics confirmed, and yet the world still lives. The world is not destroyed. So they're like, they when she says wrecking things, it really might be akin to natural disasters, other than the potential that they're also going after human settlements. But yeah, ultimately what you have here, you're painting a really nice picture. And now that leads us to the main character. This whole thing about hunting magics. Now this girl might think every magic should be huntable. This guy, we all know, he only is going to hunt something if it hurts someone else, or it like takes a life. Like life for a life. The reason that's really interesting is because that puts him in direct opposition with entrenched thinking, and that could lead to conflicts versus the witches and an upending of the current world order. Because like honestly, man, when you tell me there's a little magic just hiding at the bottom of the ocean, who is that hurting? Is that magic like causing earthquakes? I can see how that could hurt a human, but is it really that? You get it? Like he's just like minding his own business, and he deserves to be hunted. I don't think so. So, put it all together. The arrogance of that girl, the current order of the indigenous creatures being hunted, being told that they're wrecking the world, or being told that they wreck things when they tromp around and they move. And you gotta remember, the king was also just minding his own business for a long period of time at least, so they at least have periods of silence. But you have all that, and you put it together with this kid who has a very defined philosophy. Like, the conflict kind of writes itself. I can't wait in that regard. Anyway, man, like when I look at the conflict here, I really do think like this is not a simple conflict, because that explanation already, like when she starts telling him to get with the times, bro, like that ain't, like you're not on the winning side of an argument here. And I can't wait to see how that all develops if we get the time. I think the world is set up for like some good storytelling potential in that regard. Now I do think we should just very quickly talk about the final moment of the chapter where the kid decides, yo, I'm gonna put things back the way they were. And this is a good natural follow-up of his philosophy. He says, I have done you wrong, let me make it right. That makes 100% sense with who he is. Very consistent, very in character. And then you get the money shot of the chapter, which is like the growth of the trees and all that kind of stuff. Very neat. I really enjoy it. I think that is one of those iconic moments for the character. Like if you're talking about a character establishing moment, this is definitely it. I can see an anime episode ending off on this. This is beautiful. We didn't really talk about like the specific mechanics that we see popping up here. I really just focused on, I think, the most critical lines. But we see that he is put to sleep for 3 days whenever he does that. I think that's a nice little like restraint gimmick. I think that'll be cool enough to add a new kind of pressure to fights when we get there. Anyway, yeah. That's really the most important stuff. We have a quick little thing about the mechanics of how his power works, and it's like he generally can do anything, it seems. Just he amplifies it to the nth degree. And yeah, I think they did a really good job selling us on her arrogance. The world's greatest, most powerful, most perfect witch is the peerless beauty thingamajig. Yeah, no, again, like I said, we are ripe for conflict in this one. Guys, let me know what you thought down below. I hope you have a great day, and let's see where the series goes. Again, we won't really know what's probably going to happen to the series until we're like at chapter 8 or chapter 10. But until then, if there are any other great moments in the chapter, I'll come back and I'll cover it. But so far, that one little moment there with the indigenous species comment, top tier for sure. Guys, let me know what you thought down below. Until next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.